I'll probably get in trouble for making this video, but believe it or not, this is incredibly controversial, even on Twitter. You get a lot of people that are saying that this is unacceptable, and then you get a lot of people asking what's the problem, right? But I don't know if we are allowed to have controversies today. Every single thing is supposed to be black and white. Like, no, this is the correct way of behaving, and if you don't think this way, then you're a problem. We need to ostracize you. We need to deplatform you. We need to silence you or whatever, right? So a journalist went into a crowd of people that clearly were not agreeing with him, and they heckled him. Okay, there's no violence. No one is getting hurt. It's just that they screamed in his ear. They followed him around, and they were heckling him.
Why have you lied and said that lockdown's illegal? How can it be legal to lock people in their houses without judge, jury, and execution?
Now that's the footage, that's the event which took place, and I want to point out that at no point did I find this guy getting hurt or physically assaulted. He was just getting heckled by people, right? Like, look here. He wants to pass, the people let him pass, like no one is touching him. I mean, sure, like this is the worst that you can get. It's like someone got in his face and started screaming at him. But other than that, I mean, he isn't being physically assaulted or anything. Right, like he went through what appears to be a march with people that he doesn't agree with, and the people started screaming at him. They started yelling at him, and right now this is considered to be a nationwide controversy. Like people are abhorred by the behavior of the gentleman in the crowd. They're saying, no, this is unacceptable. Like, don't you know that this guy is a journalist? He's a journalist. You're not allowed to do this to a journalist. And if you look at what the journalists are doing, same publication, they were encouraging people to milkshake their political opponents. This goes beyond heckling. So what exactly is milkshaking? Because what is the purpose of it? Looks innocent enough. But if you have a politician that is going out in order to talk with the people, he needs to look presentable. He's going to put on a suit in order to have a little bit more charisma, like the +5 charisma suit. When you're milkshaking, when you're throwing milk on a politician, you're making him look ridiculous. So now he needs to go change, if he even has a suit at handy. He needs to go change, he needs to put something else. And why you do that? So he can't speak, right? Because now, you know, he's on the podium, he's got the attention of the people, he's talking about the issues that he wants people to care about. And instead of like trying to talk against him, instead of like trying to even engage with the arguments that he says, like, which is what should happen in a democratic country, as long as what he's saying is legal, right? No, what you do is like you throw a milkshake on him, which is something anyone can do. And now he's gotta go change. You know, you're interrupting his speech. And for some reason, like no one is saying, well, hold on a little bit, like this is anti-democratic. Like this is not how democracy should be going. Because what you're going to end up is you're going to only have rich politicians being able to make speeches. Because rich politicians are going to have the money to buy up a space, maybe a football field or something, and they can go down there and they got security. And you're not going to get into a mirror's length of them to be able to throw a milkshake. But the politicians that are from the people, that are genuinely trying to get some grassroots thing going on, they're not going to be able to have money to hire security. They're not going to be able to have money to rent spaces like a square or something. They might just... And, you know, like, this is very interesting. Because the people that don't have money, they barely make it into politics anyway. They barely manage to gain public support. So already, like, you have the people that make money that are being advantaged. And now you also need to worry about journalists encouraging people to throw milkshakes. on political opponents. And this is fine, okay? Like, no one is complaining about this. No, this is democracy. This is perfectly fine. You get a journalist that is saying, oh, you need to hurl acid at Nigel Farage, which, by the way, democratically just decimated the EU elections. Like, democratically, he won, despite the fact that the press and other politicians were against him. Democratically is the will of the people, and it was the will of the journalists to write headlines inflammatory like this, right? And then the journalists find it upsetting that one of them is getting heckled. And I'll tell you why they're getting heckled, because the way they're presenting it is that these people are insane. Like, that is literally how I'm reading the headlines, right? Like, what they're doing, like, as you can see here in the video, like, there's a lot of people that they could choose. Like, you got this young man, you have, like, this elderly gentleman. I think, like, at one point, you even have, like, a woman that is screaming, right? Like, it's a diverse crowd when it comes to gender. But the person that they like to put in the thumbnail is this individual. Why? Because he looks unkempt. Okay, he looks like he is not very financially stable in order to afford to go to the dentist. He's got tattoos. He's got no shirt, right? So he fits the stereotype of the unwashed masses, I guess. And that's the thumbnail that every publication is going with, right? Like, every single publication is choosing this thumbnail with a guy that appeared like 3 seconds in the frame, in order to create the stereotype in the mind of the people that it's like, well, it's uneducated people at that rally, right? And this is why you get this. This is literally why you get this, because all the people at that rally, they get to feel unrepresented by the journalists that claim to be the voice of the people, right? Because the BBC is supposed to be politically neutral. That's why the British person is paying for the BBC, like they're paying a license. It's not like any other news media. No, they're supposed to be politically neutral, but they're basically the voice of the establishment. Like, how much airtime would you give to this person, BBC? I'm not saying that you should allow him to speak freely. By all means, challenge him. Like, bring Facebook teams of medical experts in order to have a conversation with this gentleman. But clearly it's a pressing issue in your society. Why are these people that are also affected by political decisions not allowed to have a voice? Because they can't voice their opinion on the comment section now, can they? The journalist is allowed to say the dumbest shit. Like, for example, they can say that, yes, milkshaking is okay. Doing assault or terrorism or your political opponent is okay. This is what journalists are saying, right? And the comment section is disabled. The comment section is disabled, is given disability so that the people can't say, you're crazy. What on earth are you talking about? You're the voice of the people? You're not the voice of the people. We're the people. We think this is abhorrent. Like, what you're doing doesn't reflect our values. On whose behalf are you talking with? Like, I am willing to bet there are Labour supporters and there are even, like, far leftists that think that this is not okay. And that's why they disable the comment sections. Because they don't want to see what the people have to say. So if you're not allowing the people to speak, then when the people actually speak where they can, in the street, because it's literally the last place they can go without having terms of service, then you're also shocked and appalled. It's like, oh, how can people voice their concerns on the streets? It's like, yeah, but they weren't violent. Like, they did no violence. They did nothing wrong. They just followed the guy around and they screamed in his ear. Okay, like, this is perfectly fine with the right to peacefully protest. Like, how else do you think they should protest? Like, seriously, what other way do you think they should protest? Because at this point, I'm starting to think that there's two types of people in society. The people that can work from home and they're not affected by the lockdowns and they're perfectly fine advocating for more. And then you have the people who are desperate, kept away from their paycheck, and they have legitimate grievances. I mean, my God, like, the housing problem in America is becoming quite a thing because a lot of people who couldn't make money during this time are selling their houses, and a lot of rich companies are buying the houses. I mean, that's another topic for another video, right? But, like, it's a problem. And you're not even going to address it. You're going to pretend that these people are just anti-science, that they don't care about the sickness or whatever. Like, no, they care about the sickness. It's just like, you're not caring about them getting a paycheck. Like, you're keeping them safe from their paycheck. How do you want them to make a living? The government isn't giving them money. Like I am willing to bet if these people would get money, if they were having a license like the BBC has, where they take money from the people that get to work and they're being paid to stay at home, you wouldn't see the lockdown protests. I guarantee you. I 100% guarantee you, because it's not about the medical issues, it's about the economical issues. And the press just wants to ignore this. They want to pretend, no, it's got nothing to do with economics. It's got everything to do with economics. Okay? Because the journalist, he looks very well kept. He looks like the type of person that can still afford to have a job. In fact, he still has a job. He's an essential business worker, right? He's got a job. He's got to work. Like, here's a question. Why was it that all the journalists from the corporate press, they could still work during the lockdowns? Oh, I hear you say, well, it's because the news are essential. Like, people need to be informed. Okay, fine. Fine. You know how restaurants got to work with half the staff? Why is it that the corporate press had to work only by covering the news? Like, that's the only thing they should do. Just cover the news. No more entertainment programs. No more, things that make people go, haha. No more late night comedy shows. No more, just the news, because that's essential. Why is the late night comedy show essential? Double standards. And then you're wondering, why are people upset? You think people can't see this just because you gave your comment section disability and you're censoring and you're banning people? Like, here's something interesting that I learned in high school about free speech. Like, the reason in high school it was told to me that Romania has free speech is because people who can't speak take it to the streets. Like, the way to have free speech is to avoid the violence, is to get the people who at first are actually being displeased by certain problems in society and talk to them in order to try to persuade them that, hey, okay, maybe we can find a middle ground, or maybe you're not right about this. Like, have you tried thinking about this from a different perspective? It's literally to avoid this. Just literally to avoid this. You avoid this if you talk with the person. If you invite them up and you talk to them and you have a normal conversation, you avoid this. And again, assuming that this is bad. Because again, like, the guy didn't get hurt. There was no crime committed. And he's getting massive support, bipartisan support from people in politics. Like, politicians are telling him, what happened to you is not okay. Blah, 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 blah. The same politicians that didn't care when, statues of Winston Churchill's were being desecrated, or they were trying to even tear them down. Right? Like, because they have people going, it's like, oh, so because these people are out on the streets, they're going to extend the lockdowns. It's like, I don't know. I mean, weren't there people out on the streets last year destroying statues and you didn't say anything? So I'm just curious, like, do these people think that in a democratic state, people aren't allowed to protest? And if they are allowed to protest, can they scream at the people they don't like? And no, seriously, like, do you think that this is the question, all right? Like, and I'll end the video with this. Like, this is the reason I made the video. Do you think that it should be against the law to scream at a person you don't like? Like, should you make it illegal? Because I'm telling you this, if you're making it illegal, there's going to be a lot more people from their quote-unquote political aisle, okay, which are going to get arrested, because this should be criminalized as well, right? Like, now it's encouraging to violence if you do this. Like, if you were to make it illegal to heckle people on the street, then milkshaking someone is illegal. Encouraging people to milkshake someone should also be illegal, right? But I guess, like, this is the thing that the culture is set up like, okay? If you write an article where you encourage people to do this, it looks civilized, right? It looks civilized, it looks very posh, it looks very middle class, it looks very nice from the optics perspective. But if you do this, like on the street, this doesn't look civilized anymore. This looks very lower class. It looks like the unwashed masses. We don't stand for this because, I guess the press doesn't really like the lower class, which, by the way, can't afford to have a publication like the BBC so they can write these type of vile articles. Let me know what you think about this double standard, and I will see you in the comment section, because I do have a comment section, okay? I don't give disability to my comment section, which is probably why, the algorithm pops up the corporate press and they suppress independent creators like me, because independent creators like me aren't afraid of criticism, and I'm not afraid of the public. Like, by all means, say whatever you want into the comment section. I'll read it.